So I'll start with that here. And hello, brothers and sisters. Starting our part where our study in First Maccabees 7 begins. So I wanted to show our people too on YouTube. I've got a 420 minister shirt here from the I Am Foundation. It says God made pot and God loves you a lot. I will put the link down in this video here so you can see more information about his church. He's going around helping people out, kind of letting them know about the word, and he's also trying to spread it across all 50 states and get churches going all through the states. Dear God, may this word bless your brothers and sisters. May they hear it and have their ears open to the things that it contains, and may it help their hearts and hurt the fight with the enemy. May he be trampled on and go down as you want him to. He can't stand against us, and may these blessings go toward us and all those that who believe in him and trust in him. Amen. First Maccabees 7. In the 151st year, Demetrius, son of Secundus, set out from Rome and sailed with a few men to a town by the sea, and there began to reign. As he was entering the royal palace of his ancestors, the army seized Antisus and Lysis to bring them to him. But when this act came known to him, he said, "Do not let me see their faces." So the army killed them. And Demetrius took his seat on the throne of his kingdom. And then there came to him a renegade of godless men of Israel, and they were led by Asismus, who wanted to be the high priest. They brought to the king the accusation against the people, "Judas and his brothers have destroyed all of your friends, and have driven us from out of our land. Now they sent a man whom you trust. Let him go and see the ruin that Judas has brought on us in the land of the king, and let him punish them for all who help them." Because if you remember before in the other studies with that, Judas Maccabees was the one who went against the conversion of the Jews being turned into Gentiles and them trying to push Gentile things on them and condemn their Jewish traditions. So he fought against them. He trusted in God, and God allowed him to prevail and be strong and get through with that here. So the king chose Bacchus, one of the king's friends, governor of the province beyond the river. He was a great man in the kingdom and faithful to the king. He sent him, and with him sent the ungodly Acumus, who he made high priest, and commanded him to take vengeance on the Israelites. This isn't going to go well. It doesn't sound. So they marched away and came with a large force into the land of Judea. And he sent his messengers to Judas and his brothers with peaceful but treacherous words. But they paid no attention to their words, for they saw that they had come with a large force. And then the group of scribes appeared in a body before Acumus and Bacchus to ask them for terms. The Hasidians were first among the Israelites to seek peace from them. For they said, "A priest of the line of Aaron has come with the army, and he will not harm us." That's interesting. I don't know who the Hasidians are, but that's interesting that the Hasidians were related to Aaron the priest there too, and sounds like maybe that name's related. I'll have to look more on that. They would know what the smoke was that they had there. Acumus spoke peaceful words to them and swore his oath to them. "We will not seek to injure you or your friends." So they trusted him, but seized 60 of them and killed them in one day, with accordance to the word that was written. "The flesh of your faithful ones and their blood they poured all out around Jerusalem, and there was no one to bury them." Then the fear and dread of them fell on the people, for they said, "There is no truth or justice in them, for they have violated the agreement and the oath that they had swore. Then Bacchus withdrew from Jerusalem and encamped in Bazeth. And he sent and seized many of the men who had deserted him, for some of the people, and killed them and threw them into a great pit. He placed Achamus in charge of the country and left him with a force to help him. Then Baccharides went back to the king. Achamus struggled to maintain his high priesthood, and all that were troubling their people joined him. They gained control of the land of Judah and did great damage in Israel. Judas saw all the wrongs that Achamus and those with him had done amongst the Israelites, and it was more than the Gentiles had done. So Judas went out into the surrounding parts of Judea, taking vengeance on those who had deserted and preventing those in the city from going out into the country. When Achamus saw that Judas and those with him had grown strong and realized that they could not withstand them, he returned to the king and brought malicious charges against him. So it sounds like Achamus was trying to be part of the high priesthood like Aaron. And it didn't give any details here, but I'm betting he did not know how to do the holy provisions, the holy incense, the things, because he was corrupt and he was doing it in their own way, it sounds like here, because he said that he was unholy and that he wasn't that kind of guy. When the king sent Nicanor, one of his honored princes, who hated and deserted Israel, and he commanded him to destroy the people. So Nicanor came to Jerusalem with a large force, and treacherously sent Judas and his brothers with a peaceful message. Let there be no fighting between you and me. I shall come with a few men and see you face to face in peace. So he came to Judas, and they greeted one another peacefully. But the enemy were preparing to kidnap Judas. And became... Let's see if that's updated. Awesome. Thank you, sir. I appreciate those links there. My scroll did not scroll up there. And where did I jump here? So he came to Judas, and then they greeted each another peacefully. But the enemy were preparing to kidnap Judas. It would become known to Judas that Nicanor had come to him with treacherous intent, and he was afraid of him and would not meet him again. And when Nicanor learned of his plan had been disclosed, he went to meet Judas in battle near Capasima. About 500 of the army of Nicanor fell, and the rest fled into the city of David. So these guys continue to be corrupt and try to deceive these guys and tell them, oh, we're going to be nice, but then they turn around and like, ha ha ha, we can be crafty and kidnap you and try to take over and attack people. Anyways, apparently a lot of the Jews were afraid of that kind of action, and then they took off and hid in the hills and hid different places. After these events, Nicanor went up to Mount Zion. Some of the priests from the sanctuary and some of the elders of the people came out to greet him peacefully and show him the burnt offering that was offered for the king. But he mocked them and derided them and defiled them and spoke arrogantly. And the answer he swore to his oath, unless Judas and his army are delivered into my hands this time, then if I return safely, I'll burn up this house. It says, unless Judas and his army are delivered into the hands this time, then I will return safely and I'll burn up this house. And he went out in great anger. At this, the priests went in and stood before the altar and the temple, and they wept and said, you chose this house to be called by your name, and to be for your people of the house of prayer and supplication. Take vengeance on this man and on his army, and let them fall by the sword. Remember their blasphemies, and let them live no longer. Now Nicanor went out from Jerusalem and encamped in Bethhorn, and the Syrian army joined him. Judas encamped in Asada in with 3,000 men. Then Judas prayed and said, when the messengers from the king spoke blasphemy, your angel went out and struck down 180,000 of the Syrians. So also crush this army before us today, and let the rest learn that Nicanor has spoken wickedly against the sanctuary, and judge him according to his wickedness. See, even more trouble there. He's saying, I'm going to burn down the sanctuary if I can't get Judas. That's bad to say if he doesn't apparently know Judas Maccabees very well. So the armies met in battle on the 13th day of Adar. The army of Nicanor was crushed, and he himself was the first to fall in battle. When his army saw Nicanor had fallen, they threw down their arms and fled. The Jews pursued them for a day's journey from Asada as far as Gazara, and they followed him and kept sounding the battle call on the trumpets. People came out of the surrounding villages of Judea and outflanked the enemy and drove them back to their pursuers, so that they all fell by the sword, and not even one of them was left. Then the Jews seized the spoils of the plunder, and they cut off Nicanor's head and the right hand that he so arrogantly stretched out, and brought them and displayed them outside of Jerusalem. The people rejoiced and greatly celebrated that day of great gladness. They decreed that this day should be celebrated each year on the 13th day of Adar. So the land of Judea had rest for a few days. So once again, their faith in God, and when they stood strong and did what God wanted them to do, they were able to withstand the armies of the Jews, even though they were trying to impersonate and be priests and trying to be holy like the Jerusalem high priests were. They didn't succeed. They weren't able to do it, and they failed miserably with that. And then they desecrated the temple by saying that they're going to burn down the temple of Hashem, God, who he said, as that high priest said that he anointed, said, build this temple in my name, and they followed it in doing so. So essentially, like the dusting off of the feet, said, get rid of them, God, take care of this. Then God took care of it, sent an angel right away, killed them off, and then that amazing battle there where Nicanor was actually the first one killed. You've ever seen like those big groups of armies where they have tons of them go there? Usually the king is the last one there behind the army as they all head them up and take care of them there. So it's got to be some great battle there if the king, the leader, was killed first. So, somebody had some divine targeting there and took them out. And then everybody else freaked out, dropped their weapons. Israel chased them through the rest of the way and defeated them all. So definitely blessed by God here. Keep staying tuned and like the video if you liked it here. Subscribe if you're on YouTube and want to hear more. Also, Facebook's got some kind of subscribe there too, so hit it up. Also, let me know if you've got any questions about stuff. Feel free to send me messages about how this stuff fits, any information about it, anything about like our legal cannabis, information about that if you feel like. And any other questions you got, Bible, cannabis, like anything, if you need anybody to talk to, feel free to give me a call or a message or however you want to reach me. Thank you for tuning in, and God bless you. Hopefully this meant something, gave you some information, maybe got you some encouragement. Thank you for joining.